You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce, Patrick Mahomes. I did a video earlier in the week about Antonio Pierce and the Mahomes Rules, and he was talking about basically making Patrick Mahomes stay uncomfortable throughout the entire NFL football game that he is playing in. I had no issues with the comments he made. None. Zero. Zilch. The fact is the league has went over and above to protect these quarterbacks. The defense is being legislated out of the game in the NFL. And enter in ESPN, and look, this is everything wrong with ESPN right now. And that's coming from somebody that absolutely, I grew up with Mike and Mike. I loved Mike and Mike. It revolutionized the morning sports radio industry. They're both in the Sports Radio Hall of Fame, and they should be. It was the gold standard. But about the time that show ended is about the time the wheels started falling off over at ESPN. And Mike Greenberg, oh my goodness, he's really upset because, we're not going to put a flag, and I'm talking about flag football, put a flag on Patrick Mahomes' hip. All right? Heaven forbid somebody talks about going after Patrick Mahomes and making him uncomfortable in a football game. How does the league how do they do any more to protect these quarterbacks? They're taking defense out of the league. I hate these comments. To me, it is some of the most beta-worthy cringe I have ever heard in all of my life. Oh my God, he's so upset because Antonio Pierce said, let's make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. Okay. What else is the league supposed to do? They're throwing nothing the passer penalties in every game, and it is hurting the NFL. You notice I said nothing the passer because they call phantom roughing the passer calls in nearly every game now. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. Let's get to this. Look, it's up to NFL teams to make sure they got competent NFL backup quarterbacks. That's on the general manager. That's on the coach to make sure they got somebody that can responsibly come in if somebody like Patrick Mahomes was to get a damn hangnail. All right? Now, Greeny's a big Jets fan. Looking at your Jets, who didn't do shit at backup quarterback, and it cost them the season after A-Rod went down. I can't believe these comments. They literally, it's a 1-minute soundbite on what's wrong with ESPN right now. But Antonio Pierce, he made waves around the league. This is Raiders Beat, a great website. Made waves around the league last week when he talked about implementing the, quote, Jordan rules. Now, I'm old enough to remember the Jordan rules and the Detroit Pistons. As Michael Jordan was on the ascension, the Detroit Pistons, they were known as the Bad Boys. All right, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Joe Dumars, Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. They were some tough sons of bitches. All right, a lot of people thought they were a dirty team, and they kept Michael Jordan uncomfortable. They kept him uncomfortable back when the NBA was just fantastic. It was arguably the best sport going back in those days. Pierce said his message to the team before playing the Chiefs this year was to be physical with Mahomes and make sure the league's most dynamic quarterback knew the Raiders were coming after him mentally, physically, and emotionally. Look, Antonio Pierce, I love his mindset. I don't know how well this is going to go for the Raiders long term, but as of right now, this guy epitomizes what the Raiders should be. This was what he said. I had no issues with it. We've got the Jordan rules, what I'm calling now, as long as I'm here, the Patrick Mahomes rules. Pierce said on Max Crosby's The Rush podcast, you remember when Jordan was going through it with the Pistons All those guys in the 80s before he became Michael Air Jordan. The Pistons used to whip his ass. Anytime he came to the hole, elbows, feeling him, love taps. We touched him. We were in his head mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I showed those guys Jordan getting his ass whooped. There's nothing wrong with those comments. There's zero wrong with those comments. It is the defense's job to make the quarterback uncomfortable on every play. Be in his face, collapse the pocket, keep pressure on him the entire game. I think he also threw out there you cut off the head of the snake, something like that. But if I'm a Raiders fan, I love hearing this, and I think, you know what? At least on defense, we got the right coach. You got to score points, but at least you can score. You got the right guy on defense. He's got the right mindset. The message from Pierce wasn't well received by everyone in the NFL community. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio was one of the first to draw negative attention to the soundbite. Florio compared Pierce's remarks to the Bountygate situation in New Orleans. He said he reached out to the league for comment. The NFL, he said, would not comment on the situation. What situation? I don't understand. It's the defense's job to make Patrick Mahomes have a very uncomfortable and bad day and stay aggressive with him. This isn't flag football, but it sounds like Mike Greenberg, when I listen to these comments, and my God, it epitomizes the betas over at ESPN, and this is a total beta take from Mike Greenberg. Let's listen to this.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like it. I don't like hearing it. And if I'm the league, I'm doing something about it. And I'll tell you why. Protecting the quarterbacks is the most important thing the NFL can do. Patrick Mahomes is the most important player in football. He's as important a player as football has had in a long time. He is right there with Brady and Peyton Manning and Brett Favre as a draw. There is no bigger draw right now in the sport than Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Taylor Swift is the only bigger draw than Mahomes is. You cannot have coaches preaching hurting him. And I understand that he's not going to go so far as to say hurt him, but I'm telling you right now, if I'm Roger Goodell, I'm calling Antonio Pierce. I don't mean to be a fuddy-duddy on this, but I'm going to say, listen, I'm going to instruct my officials to be keeping a close eye on Patrick in your games because of what you said. And if I see anything I don't like, we're throwing flags on every freaking play. You want 15 yards on every play? I'll give you 15 yards on every freaking play. You're going to knock out our moneymaker? Mine and yours? I'm not interested in it.
That's a horrible take. It's a horrible take in a situation where the league is already far and away. Defense is being regulated out of the game. And Antonio Pierce did not say a word about hurting him. He even admits he doesn't say it. But they are calling nothing the passer penalties in games every week. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes is not bigger than the Shield. He's not bigger than the league. Everybody was like, oh my God, how is the NFL going to make it without Brady? It made it just fine. It will make it just fine if Patrick Mahomes goes down for a year. It will. Brady once blew out a knee at the beginning of the season. Yeah, it sucked because I like watching Brady, but the league kept going. And it's up to Kansas City to make sure they got a competent backup quarterback if and when Patrick Mahomes ends up getting hurt. But what else is the league supposed to do? It's ridiculous. It's made at times the NFL as a joke because of how they've coddled the offensive players, particularly quarterbacks, versus the defense. It's pathetic, and that is a beta take if I ever heard one. You're hurt by Antonio Pierce's feelings. He hurt your feelings. Antonio Pierce hurt your feelings because you think Patrick Mahomes should be put on a pedestal? Nah. None of these players, none of these individual players should be put on a pedestal of any kind. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I understand they draw big ratings. That shouldn't even enter into the conversation. If you want to keep the integrity of the sport, which, by the way, the NFL is losing with a lot of fans. That's a fact. That's a fact. Wow. I mean, everything wrong with ESPN in one minute soundbite. Yeah, if I'm Roger Goodell, I'm calling Antonio Pearson. I'm threatening him to what? Rig the game for the Chiefs? I'm sorry, but that's what it sounds like. I'm going to flag him on every play. I mean, look, it's the Raiders' job to put hands on Patrick Mahomes and make him uncomfortable. And get him down to the ground within the rules if possible. Because you know why? It's so he can't run around, so he can't throw touchdowns. It's Antonio Pierce's job to coach up the defense and to win ball games as a Raider, not as a Chief. That's crazy. That's nuts. On top of it, it's a division rival. That's a pathetic take from Mike Greenberg. It really is. And that's somebody I like and that I've consumed. I consumed for 20 years. By the way, I haven't watched him one time on Get Up or listened to his radio show. It's just not the same without Golick around. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.